It's wild to me. Yeah, like I was expecting like 20 minutes from now to be like, I found Brandon, y'all. Sorry, Brandon's the person I know best, so I would bully. Also, impossible bully. Look at the script, y'all. Hi, I'm Fiona from Weird Providence. I'm hosting this panel, and I'm gonna do the thing where I let everyone introduce themselves, and y'all are gonna cheer for them, and we're gonna see who's hot or not.
Hi, I'm Aimee Nicole, and I don't really know what to say. I'm queer, and I'm from Northeast. Thank you for coming and having me here.
Hi everybody, I'm Brandon Perras Sanchez, and so thank everyone for coming. I am a gay author, horror author, and filmmaker.
Oh, I already introduced myself. Thank you to Rhode Island College for hosting this, and thank you to John for being kind to everyone that ran this.
My name is Matt Forgit. I am very, very gay, and I like long walks on the beach and the accordion, and at the same time, in my Tiger King costume. So, thank you for coming.
Are you taking?
Yeah, that's mine. He's mine back there.
I am Erica Summers. I also have other pen names such as Odessa Alba for my romance and Trixie Fairdo for cozy mystery. But my real name is Erica Summers, and I'm gay as hell. So that's it.
All right, since we're doing a queer and horror panel, I think the first and most obvious question is, what is queer about horror, y'all? It can go in any way.
Just so I know, are we directing questions at certain people, or are we just talking?
I can open questions if that's easier.
So, yes, okay, so I think that, Pride started as a riot, and I think that horror is sort of, a riot against the norm and against what society wants us to be. That's sort of how I see it. My books and my writing is sort of a conversation on society and how we are treated and how we are seen as people and how we see ourselves. So I like to speak on that and try to make a safe space for people. And I think that horror creates space for people that aren't always seen and heard. That's how I see it. Everyone sees things a little bit differently, but I'm not someone who's just like an author or trying to make a business or trying to make money. I really just come as a person, and hopefully people can connect to the words that I just put on a page. And I try to make a lot of friends on the way, so yeah, that's what I see it as.
I think through history too with mythology and folklore, that a lot of these tales, and it's pretty common in a lot of modern horror films, is the outsiders, the oddballs, the monsters are often end up being the heroes of the story too. And I think a lot of queer people resonate with that because we're kind of pushed to the outskirts of society, and but these are we're the nicest people we are. These people have nothing to hide, and it's awesome. So I think that's why they resonate with horror. I mean, sometimes they're not the good guys in the story, but that's okay too. You like what you want.
To piggyback on some of the things they're saying, I think horror also is about the other. So when you're growing up, you're different than other people. I remember being young and not knowing I was different, but I didn't quite understand why I was different than everybody. And there's something about horror where we embrace the other, and especially like something Matt and that's my friend Mia over there hear about constantly is my deep love of the Final Girls, because it's the women that are this is my shirt. I made this for Women in Horror Month. I'm pointing it out because no one noticed today.
I noticed sitting here.
These are all my favorite final girls, And I think one of the things that I remember distinctly growing up watching horror movies, and that was the character that I had always related to the most, the girl who, because she was the smart one and she was different than everybody else. And we don't have other genres like that. There's actually statistical proof that horror is the most positive genre for women. And I think that's where my love of all that stuff started, as someone who I related way more to her than I did to the jockey dummy. Although you can tell I'm pretty jockey, I'm pretty masculine. That was a joke. I hear my own voice. But I think for me, it's always been about the other and, the fear and the conquering. There's something brave to me about it. And I would hope to be that amazing in real life. Sorry, Boo, if I have to be the final girl and you have to die.
You're doomed. So for me, I don't really know how to quite elegantly answer that question, but I will say from my own experiences, I was born and raised in a small town called Casper, Wyoming, which is right outside of where the Matthew Shepard tragedy happened. And I was there when all that was happening. I was there when, the Baptist ministers were picketing my schools and stuff like that. And I remember growing up, there was no safe space to be queer at all. There was just you didn't talk about it, you didn't say it very loud or proud, because you would get beaten up, you would get assaulted, you would get, picked on in school and stuff like that. So a lot of the real horrors that I was witness to growing up were literally because people were queer. They were just living their lives, minding their own business, but if you be too queer, too loud, too open, too proud, you now have a target on your back. So for me, when I started writing horror, I've always had a deep love of horror, but for me, when I started writing it, it was important to me to include real horrors for myself, things that scare me, and a lot of it was seeing people living in true fear. Even though there's no monsters in my life, there are monsters, there are metaphorical monsters. And I think there's a freedom in writing horror because you can not only sort of express some of that in a way that even I think a lot of straight people or even secretly closeted homophobic people, it might just chip away at that just a tiny bit where they're like, wow, I really liked that character, and even when I found out he was gay, I still felt for him, and he was still someone I was rooting for. And so for me, I strive to create characters that are likable, and then you find out they're gay, or with Mantis, she's very bisexual, aggressively bisexual right off the start. But by the time she starts kicking ass, you're like, I'm rooting for her. So it is my goal to represent what real people in real life are in our genre. So that's it. I was not very eloquent and the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah, I think Erica said some really important things, and I wrote Ghost Dance last year, and it's about a gay hate crime, and it follows the narrator after they're killed, and they're looking down and they're watching the trial and the killer and their family, and they want revenge so bad, but it's really stemmed from how much we're silenced and how badly people are treated, and how we are all still the same. We're all just human beings, and that's, I think, why I felt the need to write it. And this is a spoiler, I guess, but it's a genderless narrator, so anyone that picks it up can identify in some way. You bring yourself into the story, and I think writing something that any reader can pick up and connect with is important. In picking up where you were talking about, real life. Last month, I went to a restaurant in Rhode Island, and I was refused service for the first time in my life. And it was very strange. And I was with my partner who is straight, and they said to me, if I was not with you, I wouldn't have believed you. Because it was very strange being at a restaurant when everyone's being served around you and you're very obviously queer with all your pins and whatever, you're looking a little queer, I dress a little crazy, and everyone around me was being served, and it was in a rural town, and a restaurant, a table came in after and was served also. And it was a very strange experience, and it spoke to the world we're living in now, where people feel brave. They feel brave to act and speak out openly on how they feel, even if it hurts and cuts other people down. So now I'm working on making sure that my soul survives, and that's really important. And representing writing that other people feel like their souls survive through.
Yeah, that is a great answer to the first question. Now I just feel like, wow, I should be jumping in a bunch of directions. I guess starting off and trying to keep kind of on the same theme a bit, I guess we've touched on how like queer experiences have a lot of horror. That is, there's isolation, rejection from family. There's a lot of horror metaphors in it. There's the traditional queer figures of horror, whether we're looking at Buffalo Bill in the 80s or now I'm blanking on Norman Bates in Psycho in the 50s, neither of which are of course considered particularly positive representations, and the recent rise of kind of anthologized queer horror with why am I blanking on the names of it? Bury Your Gaze and It Came from the Closet. So I guess why is queerness such a persistent theme in horror, or why is it still resonating all these years down the line? And anyone can go first. I'm just passing this, so it's not.
Well, I'll go ahead and go first for that one. I think it's because this is happening everywhere. This is real life. Like, I think if a lot of straight people knew how many queer people there really were around them, like, they would not be so ballsy to be like hateful or deny service or things like that, because we really are everywhere. Like, I cannot tell you how many people like are like, you're straight. Because I was married to a man. I date a man right now, but I've dated more females than I've dated men, and like, that's not usually what they see. That's not my forward-facing persona all the time, because I've been with the men longer than the women usually. And there's so many times when people are like, you're straight, you get it. These queers are ruined and everything's like, no, dude, I will bang your wife. Like, I am Mr. Steal Your Girl. Like, I'll do it to spite you. I'll do it because she is hot. I'll do it because I'm bored. I will literally just do it to screw up your life. But I think for me, that's a big part of it, is like realizing that I don't set out when I write a book to say, I want to accurately represent everyone. I want a black person, and I want a gay person, and I want a lesbian, and I don't like try to hit these certain tropes. I just think, like, what is life? Like, what is real life? Like, I'm not trying to like just pump this book or whatever, but this book has like a wild cast of motley people, but it's life. Like, that's the thing, is you've got straight men, you've got bisexuals, you've got a whole spectrum of people, and that is what happens when you go outside of your house and you socialize with people. Like, you may not realize it because they may not be wearing rainbow necklaces and a pride flag. They may be dressed like, well, I guess I'm pretty masculine.
I'm dressed like a militia member right now. Other than like Robert Backlund, I don't think anyone would think I'm on this mission.
The two gentlemen here, like, I would never walk out of my door and be like, oh, definitely one. Like, it's not like that kind of thing. And that's the thing that people don't realize is we are everywhere. We exist. We're going to continue to exist. You can try to squash our voices. You can try to bully us and scare us into corners. And trust me, there are times when I'm like, I'm not going to advertise how gay I am at this place because I feel like that's not going to end well for me. But it doesn't make me any less of what I am, and it's never going to. And I think that horror should be a great representation of what we all are and what we're all afraid of, what we're all striving for, and what we all can be in that ways.
I agree. I love a lot of things you said. One of the things I think too when I write my novels and I write the gay characters, I present it with a sense of normalcy. Like it's not constantly pointed out that they're homosexual. And I write, for everybody. When I write a book, I purposely don't describe a lot of physical characteristics of characters because I want you to picture the person how you picture them. Because especially I know younger people when they read these books, I want them to see themselves maybe a little bit in it. But I try to present it as, I use a lot of humor in my books. My last book, we have characters who joke. When you're friends with gay people, you joke about the gayness together. It's not a slur. You're joking about it with them. So I wanted that comfort level of that you have with your friends. I also though agree with you. It's like it's hard. Like I don't set out to be like I'm gonna have everybody be representative of this one thing. I really don't know what it's like to be anything other than a gay man. I was like this when I was 8 years old. The first record I ever had was Madonna. Take that with what you will. So. I remember the first movie I ever saw in the theater was Return of the Jedi. And when the movie was over, my dad said, I'm 6 years old. He said, what was your favorite part? And I said, Princess Leia's outfits. I was 6. You know what I mean? By the way, when I was 18 and told them, they were like, what? And I was like, Mom, Dad, what? And I think sometimes presenting things, like one of the things I talk about with my boyfriend and I promise I'll try to not talk so much about. I was a little nervous about this because of some of the things people wrote online.
Yeah.
Because Nat and we live in Boston, Massachusetts. We're right in the seaport. Nobody gives a shit if we're gay. Nobody cares. So we live in this bubble where nobody gives a shit. So nobody cares. There's gay people. We see every kind of person every day. So we don't care about that stuff. We don't care as long as you're not an asshole. We don't care what your deal is. So coming into today, I was a little nervous because I was afraid, I was like, oh shit, I feel like I'm 15 again in high school, and people are gonna kick my ass. Like, I'm a big guy, but I'm a total wuss. So, I'll be like, wanna fight Erica, In
their ass.
So there was this new, weird fear that I haven't had in a really long time about today, and this thing that's so happy to me and so wonderful, and I think that's, something you said, we are in an administration now where this is okay.
Yeah.
This is now okay. And I think, even aside from gay stuff, all of it, I am not down for any of it, hating people because they're not like you.
Yeah.
That is not my jam. I will die on that hill, And to end on something better than that, like I was saying, I try not to write things that I don't understand, because Matt and I tried scissoring once, it was weird. It just did not hurt. It was weird, the balls were in the way. It was really weird. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's what Erica said too. It's like once you're silent, they've won. So if us simply existing is shoving it down their throats, then I'll keep shoving even fucking harder. If our life is horror to you, then good. Be fucking scared because this is, like you said, we're surrounded by queer people. I just don't care anymore. My empathy has gone out the window. I don't care. I used to have this. I come from a social worker background. I'm like, everyone's life experiences are different. Maybe they're they've gone through some shit, blah blah. But a lot of people they're at this point they're 30 plus years old, and what hurt looks like on another human being. You know what hate looks like. You know what you're fucking doing. You've been brainwashed by right-wing propaganda that's so fucking false and ridiculous. And you've thrown out all your own life experiences out the window to be yeah, in 2022, all the LGBTQ, we have this secret cabal. We're guys, it's time to start molesting children. This shit is fucking real. Trans people aren't abusing fucking kids. So for a while, I was like, you know, like, we have to meet them halfway. Like, let's get to, like, know why they're thinking this way. And at this point in 2025, I don't care. Like, fuck police. Like, I just don't care. My empathy is gone. I have no patience. I know on the, like, comment section in Facebook, I got a little mouthy with people, but I don't want them to feel safe enough to go in there and think they can, like, say this shit to us. And, like, I don't care. Like, luckily, like, I'm, like, straight passing and, like, white passing, and I'm able to, like protect myself, and I know not everyone can do that, but I'm here to like do what I can with my privilege, and I will fuck these people up, so I don't care. Come find me.
I also got a little mouthy, so sorry if anyone saw that.
No, good.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I think for me, just to piggyback off some things that were said, when I was growing up, I was always attracted to like everyone, and I was like, isn't everyone? Like I just thought that was what everyone did, and everyone thought that. So then when I found out that that wasn't how it was, I was like, oh. I think part of the problem is that when I was growing up, there were no like gay books or people or role models or anything where I was growing up, and so I didn't know that that wasn't normal. That's what the people say. And for me, it was normal. Like, that was just how it was. Like, I thought everyone just was attracted to everybody. So when I found out that, like, oh, there's words for that. There's language for that. There's books for that. There's community for that. I wanted to be a part of that because I didn't realize that I was kind of missing out on something really important, and I could help to build it. And that's what I wanted to be a part of. I really feel like I missed something important that could have helped to shape me when I was younger. And I wanted to help people to learn about themselves too. So that's why I have like, you know, a book like this that donates to the Trevor Project. And I have, can I say sexy? Sexy. Moderator. Like sexy books that have like, you know, it's for queer people, okay? Like it's not just for straight people. So I feel like we don't have enough of that. So I'm trying to add books, add language for people who there might not be enough. It's not just horror. I don't just write horror. I write sexy stuff too. So, yeah, I mean, I think that we need to create more space, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to take up space, and it's okay to tell people, like, take up more space. It's okay. Like, you shouldn't be quiet. You can take up space. It's okay.
When I started my publishing company with my little sister, we come from like an extremely conservative, like our whole town is extremely conservative. Our father is like, I will stop talking to you if you're gay, which I've told him many, many, many times, like this is my girlfriend, we bang, you know, things like that. Like, and he's just like total denial of it. But her husband is very conservative as well. Not quite so conservative, but more like a worrisome conservative, where he's like, he's had chats with us where he's like, both of them have been like, I think you need to turn down some of the gay stuff, you know, in your books. I don't think it's a wise business business venture, you know, a good avenue for you guys to be going down. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm hearing what you're putting out. So this is like my sister and I get in a room alone. I'm like, so what I'm hearing is we need to write a lot more gay stuff. We have.
Well, and I guess since it keeps circling, I guess what is relevant about queer horror or queer genre today? You know, as we've mentioned this a lot, but you know, let's just revisit it because it's a good question. I think so. I asked it.
So to touch on what you said earlier too, like growing up, I grew up in northern Vermont in a very conservative town. I've been forced into conversion therapy 3 times and then through this shit. So like you were saying earlier, like one thing that like meant a lot to me was, like, I'm old, I'm 43, so back then like, we didn't really have like crazy internet or whatever, but like when you find out that like an actor, like musician or someone is gay, it's super exciting. It's like, you know, you just think you're by yourself in this weird little world. Like I'm probably just gonna like grew up being in a closet for like the rest of my life. And then like, you know, you started seeing people in the media, found out Conor Barker was gay when I was in high school, and that like had such a profound effect on me. Like it really like it was life changing. I was like, oh, I'm not alone. So I think like you said, like getting as much media out there to let people know that yeah, we fucking exist. We always have. We just like get into as many crevices of like the the zeitgeist that we can, and just getting it all out there is super important, and just not shutting up about it. Like I don't know. I think this time period now, they're trying to stifle everything they can. That's different than being just like a straight white guy. And it's time to fight back again. It sucks that we backtracked this far. Cause I feel like we were making some good progress for a while. It seemed like things were kind of like getting cool. And now I don't know what's going on, but like we just gotta fight back. We can't like bow down. But yeah.
I think what's important is survival for us and for people coming up. That's what I think is important. I really just think it comes down to survival and inspiring the people around us. You know, I take it very seriously. I really do.
I like what you were saying before about like, your soul needs to survive. What's going on?
It's like so important. It's not just like eating, drinking. Like you have to survive inside.
Yeah.
Also, some of the things you guys say. I think one of the things I remember, so I'm only 21, so, I grew up in the 80s, so it was really shameful to be gay. Like, it was like the worst thing in the world. Like, there's actually a saying where I came from, better my son a thief than a homosexual. So people would say that. Because it was, better, I guess. I guess in a way it's better. You get like TVs and stuff. But I remember just the shame of it, and I remember there were, like Brandon was saying something, there was no role models. There was nobody. We had Madonna, thank you for her. We had these women who stuck up for us, but it was still this shameful, horrible thing, and it was still, oh, you're gay? Oh, you must have HIV. I remember specifically people always being like, I didn't come out of the closet until I was 18. And the first thing my dad said was, do you want to be a woman? Now, to be fair though, I did read something that says you have to give your parents more than 30 seconds to react to your statement. Because you had your whole life to deal with this, and they have 30 seconds. So you have to give them some grace, because my father is awesome, and my father, who is super macho, he loves all the things I'm not interested in: sports, cars, tools, guns, movies. He loves all that stuff. So I don't know where I came from, but his favorite person on earth is my boyfriend. So it just goes to show that there are good people, But I remember distinctly how desperately lonely it was growing up. Like, I was so lonely. And I think that's where my love for music and horror and books and movies and all that stuff came from. It was comforting. Because I specifically remember graduating high school, and we got the senior yearbook, and I didn't even get one because I didn't have one person who would have signed it. Because I was the gay kid. I wasn't out, but again, not much I can do with this. I went out if the purse falls out. So you can't really hide this. And I get excited about, Paula Abdul. So people are like, oh, that gay guy, So that's the one thing that I've carried with to this age, is the desperate loneliness that lives inside you when you're that child. Because that stuff stays with you forever. It doesn't matter how many friends I have now. And I am definitely surrounded by love, but I remember that kid, and I hope that in my books, when you read about these characters, you see yourself, whether you're gay, straight, whatever you identify as. And also, side note, why the heck does everybody care so much?
Yeah.
That is what I'm fascinated by. Why do you care? I don't get why you care. I genuinely do not care what people do as long as you're happy and no one's getting hurt. I don't care. I think if you're that insecure about yourself, you're pretty damn gay. Like, you're upset about it because you are gay and you want to have sex with me. But no thank you, I'm spoken for. His name is Brandon and we're in love. Yeah. Sorry, man. That's me so mad and embarrassed. Like, you're so embarrassing.
Yeah, on that, I feel horrible. I feel horrible for men who are in the same exact situation that I am in, because especially, like, we grew up in the 80s, And you had it, in my opinion, you had it so much harder than I have it, because when, like, I remember my dad sitting us down and telling my brother, if you're gay, I'll never talk to you again. You are out of this family. And I said, well, what if I'm gay? And he's like, well, you better film it and make a lot of money while doing it. And like that kind of thing, it's just more acceptable for a woman to do it. I don't think he meant film it for him. I mean, I don't know, I'm not gonna say.
It's Wyoming, no.
Yeah, it is Wyoming. But, you know, and I just want to say, like, I can't even know what you're going, even as a queer person, I can't even know what that kind of loneliness and fear feels like. Because I never had to really, like, come out to my parents. They were just like, we got it. We know you've told us about it. You know, like, it's obvious. But as far as, like, to answer the question, like, I wish that I was the kind of person that could say, like, I'm trying to change the world. I'm trying to do good and, you know, reshape the landscape. And, like, there's something that's really nice like that. But I am a little more narcissistic than that. Like, I've got a little bit more of an ego than that. And, like, for me, my writing is a big part of it is me. A lot of me goes into my writing. And so for me, to try to write a story that doesn't have parts of me in it, it feels like, just because I don't think society would like it, feels like I am literally silencing like a piece of myself. And I refuse to do that. And no matter the cost, I refuse to not be who I am and not be true to who I am, because if that means a shorter life, it means a shorter life, but it means a shorter life lived in truth. And so for me, writing horror, writing characters that are, you know, gay or funny or weird or bullies or assholes, like that's all me. Like, some of them are based on people that I know, and I've like kind of like amalgamized them or bastardized them in a way that it's like I don't think they would know that that's them. But for the most part, like a lot of these characters in my stories, they are me. Like, and I wrote a story. I know a lot of you are nice enough to say like, oh, I can't imagine what it would be like to be in someone else's shoes. So I still try to pretend. I am like, let me try living in someone else's shoes for a while. And like, I remember I wrote a book called Rhode, and it just started out as this story that I'm writing with my sister, and I was like, I think this guy should be gay. I just feel like he should be. And she was like, I love that. I think that's great. And like, but it was like halfway through the story that I decided that I'm like, I think this would be such an interesting thing for me to like try to like think about and like live in. And I was like, but I'm not gonna make, like, I don't want him to be like, you know, super like flamboyant, like a caricature of what I think a gay man is. Because every gay man that I know is a normal person. Like, they're just normal freaking people that like musicals like I do. But like, for me, I put the book out, and I was a little bit worried about a lot of the backlash that would come, you know, especially me being a female, like trying to speak for a gay man. And I cannot tell you how many gay men have come up to me and they're like, fucking thank you for not making us like a feather boa wearing glittery, you know, like some of us are just gay. We're just gay and we're living life. And they're like, it feels like the most accurate portrayal of being gay that I can imagine, and I've recommended it to all my friends, and it made me feel really good that I went out on a limb and I tried to put myself in the position of a gay man that's just like, but you're also just a normal person. Like, that's the real takeaway from the story is like, I want straight people to read this and get halfway through it and be like, he's got a fucking boyfriend? And then be like, I feel a little duped, but also I'm so into the story now that I gotta finish this, I gotta see where this goes. And then they go through and they're like, I survived that wasn't that bad. And then maybe they take a chance on more gay horror or more, or just, you know, saying hello to a gay man, you know, that they wouldn't have normally said hello to, because guess what? They're normal and they pay rent and they do normal things because we're just humans. you know?
I'm scared to say this in front of people, but I actually don't like musicals. So I don't know that. Some people
Go
are
home.
no. People love musicals, and I'm like, I don't like musicals. I'm scared to say that. But to go off what Erica was saying, sorry about like authenticity and like being authentic when you write. That's why I publish with like small indie press, because you can really be authentic with your story and your covers and your edits. Like, you're really in charge of that. So like, I'm very thankful, especially to Curious Corporate Publishing, because I'm in charge of it all. Like, I get to approve the cover and I get to not change anything that I send to them. And you know, yeah, I don't have marketers and lawyers and whatever's they have at traditional publishers, but I don't know all the fancy stupid people, but I really get to be in charge of what I'm putting into the world, and that makes me feel like I'm not selling out of anything, and I'm not judging anyone for what they put into the world, because they're proud of that, and that's great. But I like to be in charge of everything, and I like to be putting the most authentic part of me out into the world. So that's why I like doing a small indie.
I think to say, go on something that Aimee just said, is that when I wrote my last book, it was the first one where the gay character was the lead character, and I went back and forth so many times because I was like, from a selling standpoint, you're gonna lose half, like a certain point of the audience. You know, from a, like, there was just so many things I kept thinking about. Like, there's a big group of people who won't even look at it because it's a gay character. And I remember going back and forth with Matt being like, but I feel like I want to write, you know, about this. And that's what sucks, is that you know that you already, for lack of a better word, alienated a certain members of the audience, because they just won't read it because, oh, they're gay. And I'm always so fascinated by it because I just don't, I'll never get it. You know, I'll never get like what the big deal is, or any of that. I think it's amazing that we're in the year that we're in and this is still a thing, you know, like, and I think that's why, going to the question you originally asked, why it's relevant now, is because we're still fucking doing this.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's 2025, and I gotta worry that trans kids are gonna get beat up. Not on my watch, bitch. You know, I'm also, again, a big guy by the total wuss, but I will fight for you. You know, I'll go down, you know, but I will fight for you as hard as I can, you know? So, I didn't mean it that way. You know, yeah.
Not to follow
Yeah, I'm like a old gay man. I've been with Matt 16 years, so, you know, yeah, so I wouldn't even know what to do anymore. I'd be like, it's not great, you know. That's all though, you know.
So I have a little sibling, they're 7, and they're non-binary, and very articulate and bold about who they are. I want to know from you all, what would you hope to leave kids like that, or like just future generations with your writing?
I think just to empower them and to find the magic that's in other things that are not school, but like just find your own interests and hobbies, your own friend circles, and just kind of, you just unfortunately have to power through it. I think just being there for them in any capacity, just to keep empowering them, because it's, to be honest, it's not going to be an easy ride. If it sucks. It's like a harsh truth that it's so awful to think about. Like, I was pretty much bullied all through high school too. I just hang out with the goth kids and had long hair, and it's just like we just kind of kept to ourselves. But like, you know, I have friends that have kids like close to that age too that are non-binary or trans, and they're just going through it. And I think like making sure they're for them every single capacity, like take everything they say seriously. Like, you know, it just sucks that we're here, but just let them know that like things are like, once they're out of school and like life is so much different, you can just thrive, and just keep encouraging them to act on their hobbies. If they're interested in something, get them into that mindset. They have like an escapism that's positive for them. They have a friend circle that's positive for them. I'm hoping things change within the next few years, and I hate being a pessimist, but I just don't think it's going to. But you know, things go in waves. I think maybe, I could be wrong, maybe in a few years all this stupid LGBTQ rhetoric just goes away and people like grow the fuck up, but I guess only time will tell.
Thank you.
I think too, like, not making people justify themselves is really important. and accepting who they are without them having to explain it again and again. It's really hard for me to have to justify my existence to parents and family. That's been really hard. So just accepting who they are and welcoming them, that's really important for me, just as someone in the community.
And also Mia, because I know you. This is me and Matt's longtime friend, Mia. So I know you and I know how strong you are and how you break barriers every day by your job and who you are. I think just letting this young person see you the way you are, I think that was something I didn't have growing up. You know, I had that men wear this and women wear this. Like if you liked, when we were kids, my sisters had Barbies and I had G.I. Joes. And I used to judge all the Barbie beauty pageants that my parents hated. You know, I remember it being like a whole thing. You know, and you're so young, you don't understand like what's the big deal, you know? And I think having someone like you who's so strong and barrier breaking, that's huge. You know, I'm actually struggling to think like who was around when we were kids that like, because George Michael, it was obvious, but he never said anything about it. You know, Boy George.
Yeah.
But Boy George, I think, was one of those things where we were like, I was so young, it didn't faze me at all. I was like, okay, you know, who cares? I just like this. I didn't get it. You know, I didn't get the.
In Elton John.
Yeah.
Grace Jones.
Yeah. Well, my dad listened to David Bowie, Elton John, and Queen. And I feel like back then, they teased that they might be gay, but they never came out and said it. Because that would be the end of them. Like, come on, Elton John, we did not know he was gay. You know, but that just goes to show how different things were back then. Like, you didn't want to know.
Look, it might have been
Yeah.
really heterosexual when Freddie Mercury said that I'm going to make a supersonic man out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the audience
Yeah.
pointing at him. I think he might have been looking for
Yeah.
a young woman to be very heterosexual with.
What's nice is I think people can change. Like my grandma is 95 and she's super duper religious. And I remember the way I told her about Matt was I write her letters. So I've been writing her letters for years and years and years, and I kept just mentioning Matt. So I guess she called my dad and said, "Do you know that Matt has a friend?" You know, and that was it. And that was the last I heard of it. She's super religious, 95 years old. She loves him. You know, when she says, she's like, my boys, people can change. And I think what sucks is we're in this like time or whatever era where we're not going to be allowed to change because you won't be allowed to. You will be shunned, you will be shamed. And I think that's what scares me, especially for young kids. We can't go backwards, you know? So what I'm gonna do is I'm doing a beef kid calendar that you guys can buy and all the money will go to important projects. So let me know when you're ready for that, okay?
It's weird you got G.I. Joes, you ended up being gay.
Yeah.
For me, to answer your question, what would I want to leave them? That would be metaphorically balls. The balls to be who they are, to be able to embrace who they are and those parts of themselves, whether other people do or don't. Like there is such a strength from being able to like know who you are and love who you are, even if everybody's throwing rotten tomatoes at you. It doesn't matter, because if you love you, that's important. And I think that writing for me is like it's contributing to the overall discussion on, especially on like being queer or trans or any of that stuff. But it's more of a one-sided conversation in a good way. For me, I can talk at people, and you don't have to read it, but there will be people who will read it, and it may chip away at how they feel. It may hit them at a certain time that they needed to hear something. And I think that in a way, our writing is still a way to be a part of that discussion going forward. Because that's, like you said, people can change, but the only way they're ever going to change is if we don't stop discussing all of this. If we silence all of this and we stop talking about it, then we just shove it all back in. We basically all crawl back into the closet and we hope to God that someone else will open that door one day. And that is no place that, I don't have children, but that is, if I did, that's not the kind of world I would want them to be living in. I wouldn't want them to live in fear from who they are, or be afraid of how they feel and who they love and what they feel about themselves and their bodies. So writing is such a therapeutic way for us to, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you guys, but a therapeutic way to express our thoughts about our bodies. Like I wrote this has several queer characters in it, and it's me having discussions with myself in a lot of ways for how I have felt about my body, how I have come to feel about my body, how I felt about my sexuality, how other people feel about my sexuality. And I think we're not only, when we write, when we put pen to paper, we don't just have those internal discussions with ourselves and amp ourselves up to be like, you know what, this is my truth, this is who I am, this is what I want to be putting out in the world. But then when you do actually put it out in the world, I want personally it to continue that discussion. I want it for your children, you know, for the children that have not been born yet, to be able to look back one day and say, thank God people kept talking. You know, thank God nobody closed their mouths and curled up and, you know, and just went in, you know. That's,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? I promise there's no dumb questions, just a dumb moderator.
I just want to point something that I think is along that line of like the queer and all those things that I always think about is we have so many rigid definitions of what everything is in this country. I think about this all the time. This is so dumb. I'm so dumb. Ashley Simpson got caught lip syncing on SNL. It ruined her career. Kanye West posts Nazi things. He's still thriving. Chris Brown beat the shit out of Rihanna. He's doing great. Elvis Presley married Priscilla when she was 14 and he was like 20 something, doing great. And I just want to point out that there's always, we are like in this, the reason why, you know, say all the things that I'm saying, and I know you guys are preaching to the choir. This is why we need it though, because we have these rules, like these crazy rules that they make no sense. And why are heterosexual men, let's be honest, they're the ones who get away with most of it. Look at our cabinet. You know, why is Brett Kavanaugh on the cabinet? I mean, you could replace Brett Kavanaugh with 87 other people, but why is this happening? And that's what I think, like you were saying, is like, you know what, I'm not gonna pretend I'm not gay, so someone's gonna like me.
Yeah.
I honestly think you're really missing out on all this if you don't like me, you know? And there are definitely people, I see it too. I see it when people act differently or weirdly around you because they don't know, you know? And I think that's what it all goes back to, is that we are now in 2025 where we are back in the 1970s.
yeah.
You know, and it's like, what is happening? So now I'm gonna always write gay main characters, because now that just steals my resolve to be like, well, you had your chance, they could have been a mix, you know, but now, you know,
Maybe got some straight ones.
you know, it's just, I'll go to my grave being like, wondering why people care so much. I mean, literally, the Republicans to me think more about my genitals than I do, you know? And I see them at least 3 times a day. So, you know.
I think people need to remember too, like all this is just to avoid class solidarity at the end of the day. There's a rotating villain every other few years. It's trans people right now, it's queer people right now, it was Chinese people during the whole COVID thing, or Asians in general during the whole COVID thing. Republicans can't differentiate, you know. Anyhow, like it's just like everyone is really angry because everyone's life sucks. No one can afford anything, no one can go on vacation anymore. It's a hot mess, everyone's depressed. Mom and dad are working 20 jobs. So the tangible villains that you could give them, they can see in their heads, and these people public are the LGBTQ, are minorities. And it's just to keep them distracted from like the billionaires and the garbage politicians we have running this country. So I wish people could just get this in their brains, because like literally it's a different freaking cast of people every other year. Like it was MS-13 and Mexicans like 5 years ago. It's just like, It's just so frustrating, but hope people keep that in mind. And hey, I don't want to pass the buck on to another minority group, like from the LGBTQ, to say, again, like this will probably go away, it'll be somebody else in like a year from now. It just sucks that we just keep playing this like hot potato game, and it's so fucking dumb, and I'm hoping like we can all come together and like fight back, so yeah, but I think
I find that weirdly comforting right now. I don't know why. I feel like that weirdly comforting.
yeah, maybe we'll see, but I think like again, like allyship, just looking out for each other, really participate in your communities too. Like there's so much, everyone is so focused on hating, well not everyone, but like everyone just, the amount of hate that people wake up to every day, and they want to project hate, and they wake up and they're these racists and homophobes. Like there's so much beautiful things happening in your community and on this planet. Like I really don't understand like why the focus is on all these things that really don't affect your life at all.
It's because they're gays. Yeah, they're homosexuals.
But I think as like,
Community, they meet other men,
Yeah.
and they adopt a lifestyle they don't approve of.
well, maybe they're getting back to like the anonymous glory holes down on that street in Providence, but
I live there.
but in general too, like even as like allies and as queer people too, like really looking at your community, like seeing who needs help, seeing if there's events you can go to like get more numbers there. Even if it's something as simple as like, is there a crocheting group that are there things like that, just to like create that solidarity, create strength in numbers, make people feel like they have a circle of friends, they have people they can like rely on right now. I think that's really, really important. I think that we've all mentioned this a billion times, like becoming a recluse and hiding yourself is not really gonna help. I also think like getting sucked into the social media realm of things is really tricky too, because all these things are these think tanks and bots that make things look more dire than they are. If you look at like people identifying as LGBTQ right now is the highest it's ever been. Approval for gay marriage is the highest it's ever been. So like, but we go online and that's not what's projected. So it's like the data and statistics speak otherwise. So you can't fall into these traps. And I think again, sometimes even just stepping away from these nightmare realms and focusing in like, oh no, we have a community doing really cool shit. There's people doing cool shit all over the place. There's drag shows, there's good bands, there's like little independent movies going on here. There's author cons like this. Like I think we have to do our due diligence to make sure like we are like helping support these things and promote these things and do our best. There's a lot of people in the audience right now too, like Shanna and you as well too. Like it's just people like they run the H.P. Lovecraft bookstore downtown. Shanna does the book clubs down in South Providence, which are incredible. And like I think like just becoming a part of these things is so important. I think exposure therapy is crucial. I think when people see like, oh, these are just normal people doing normal things. Like I think that's how you change people. Yeah, it's really tricky. It's like sort of rudimentary and annoying that we have to like be here right now to like say this shit, make do with what's happening right now.
Well, just to piggyback on that, especially because two things I want to say real quick. We have people on the line calling us pedophiles. You know what I mean? And I think that one of the things I come to
Voted for a pedophile.
And one of the things I was thinking of is that their voices are just so much louder because they're so much stupider. They don't care about facts. Like it doesn't matter, like I've learned with my red pals, they're not my pals, they're people I know who are red. It does not matter how much statistical information you show them or how many factual information, they don't care. And the other thing I just wanted to point out, I don't think he's here, but Joshua is such a super supporter of not only indie authors, but I did not know what was going on online at first.
Same.
Brandon knew. And Joshua, out of the blue, I get this text from Joshua worrying about me that I'm okay.
That was nice.
And I was like, I just want to give him a little shout out because that's the kind of person he is.
Yeah, for like a split second after he told me that, I was like, should I get out of this? Like, am I gonna not live through it? And he was like, we've got security. Like, he was like, he definitely like put all my fears at ease and was like, no, you're gonna be absolutely fine. I was like, I thought I was, but until I heard that there was stuff going on and like, it took me off guard because, like you said, it's 2025. Like, I didn't think I would still be worried about this in 2025. Like, if you'd have asked me, like, even 10 years ago, I'd have been like, no, we're gonna have it figured out by then. So.
That's, I was like, oh man, like I wrote a book about a gay hate crime and I'm gonna go get gay hate crime. Because they were literally like talking about getting a paddy wagon, like that's what they said online.
Is it?
I spelled it wrong.
So I was like, oh man, like this is not cute. Yes, yes. But I was like, this is just like, this is a lot.
They can't read.
I was thinking
Yeah.
Gay hate crime sounds like a band too. Yeah, I was very nerve-wracked about. It was in the back of my brain this week. This is so happy and fun to me.
Yeah.
These are things I look forward to so much. And then Matt kept being like, you can't let, you're not gonna be able to stop it. So, you can't worry about it. And he's like, what is it we can do? He's like, everyone in that room will jump on them and knock them out, So, and I'm just gonna stand back and flip my hair like in a video, so.
But I know that it's important to be surrounded by community, and that's really important. But I know, for me personally, I'm definitely having a little bit of depression right now. So if you're having a hard time leaving your house, the press I'm with has a Discord. So if you want to talk to people that are just talking about pets and art and gay stuff, you can always join the Discord, because sometimes it is hard to leave, but you still want to be part of something. And they're really great people on there. It's authors and just people, just regular people. So feel free to do that if you're having some struggle problems with that. Read. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what time it is or when we end. Just
15.
Wait, we're over. Right? Are we over on time? I am so sorry.
Do you think we could get a picture of all of us together? Do you think someone could do that for us?
Yeah.
Everybody.
But-
everybody.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Before that, could you all give a round of applause because that's what
Thank you all for coming to this. We know you had a lot of cool books up there to look at, so thanks for being here.
I mean, overstayed our welcome. Typical.